안녕 친구들, I hope you've been well. Happy New Year. It is 2015 and we're still in the month of January, so it feels safe to wish you Happy New Year. For those of you who are surprised to see a new video from me, the last time I filmed a video in front of the camera, at least for this particular channel, was back in October of 2013. And so a number of things prompted me to try to come back on here in 2015 to do what I am considering as a social media experiment, certainly, and I'll tell you about what that was or is actually in December of 2015. Yes, I am a long-range person, but other than that, two reasons why I have decided to start filming again, and those two dramas specifically are Heart to Heart and Road Number One. Yes, I know, I have promised Road Number One review since I don't know when. It was a series released back in 2010, and I am hopefully going to be able to do it justice in 2015. So anyway, the other series that I'm going to be starting, and that is with today's video upload, is Heart to Heart. Episodes 1 and 2, my goal is, of course, as with the other two series that I did, the Master, Son, and Gu family book, to do two episodes per video. And for this one, just to make it a lot shorter, I'm going to do reviews rather than recaps. And I think if I do it that way, it will certainly tell people before they click onto the video that it's a review and not, you know, a drama series, certainly. Yeah. I'm going to try to keep the videos down to about 10 minutes, so here's hoping. But anyway, I really had, I would say about, 2 or 3 reasons why I wanted to do Heart to Heart. Number one was, of course, I really do adore Cheung as an actress, and I just haven't had a chance to watch very many series that she's done. I think the last one I watched was Protect the Boss, and that was a while back. So when she announced that she was doing Heart to Heart, I thought I definitely wanted to support her and watch, and it seemed a cute, you guys know, I like watching rom-coms. I try to tend to stay away from those melodramas. But, so there was that. And then the second was that I happened to catch a glimpse of the press conference, and I just remember thinking it was such a shame because the reporters had such a lukewarm reaction at the press conference. The cast certainly, they gave very few questions to the cast members, and instead a lot of the questions were directed at the director, specifically asking her, I would say, some very difficult questions or some pointed questions, one of which was, you know, your series is now following Miseng and the big, huge space that Miseng has created. How are you going to fill that? And I thought that that was, granted from a reporter standpoint, it was a valid one, but certainly from the project standpoint, a bit unfair because you have to treat each series independently of the other. And so it just made me want more and more to fight for the underdog, Heart to Heart. And then secondly was the idea that they were asking also, how is this series going to add or bring something new to the genre of romantic comedy? And there was a part of me that was curious too. But again, you know, for me when I watch dramas, it's always about, you know, do I connect with the characters? And not necessarily is there something new that's being done here that I've never seen before. And so anyway, I thought, unfair questions from the reporters, or at least the attitude I think from the reporters was very lukewarm, I would say, and they seemed to want to not, you know, want to welcome Heart to Heart into kind of its creation. So anyway, I did watch episodes 1 and 2, and I saw 1 actually last week, and I wanted to reserve judgment on the series until I had seen episode 2, which I got a chance to see yesterday. And I will say there are definitely some, not necessarily inconsistencies, because I think those inconsistencies in characterization and, you know, a little bit of the plot will iron themselves out throughout this series. But I just found myself not feeling connected to the male character, certainly, and Cheung-I's character. I really found myself liking. I think more than anything else, in those first two episodes, she grounded the project. And so the basic premise, of course, you know, is that she is a patient, or, you know, not necessarily a patient, because she's not quite a patient at the very beginning, but she suffers from a severe case of agoraphobia, which is that she doesn't like going outside. She's afraid of going outside. And so the only way that she's able to go outside is when she dons on a full, literally what feels like an armor, and disguises herself as a grandmother. And so, you know, throughout this series, you find that she was raised by a grandmother, and she had very, you know, fond memories of her grandmother, and of course this heartbreaking story, spoiler alert, of how when her grandmother passed away because of her agoraphobia, she hadn't been able to visit her, you know, opening, you know, the open casket, certainly, nor the funeral, or nor any of those things. And so anyway, so she has harbored a 7-year crush on Detective Cheung, who is the sweetest guy in the police force, and she makes him food and leaves him in this little thermal ice pack or lunch bag or what have you. And so you see this very sweet relationship between certainly the detective and Cheung-i's character. And then, of course, in comes the psychiatrist, who is, for all intended and purposes, very cocky, self-assured, a little too self-assured, and so you know that something is going on underneath his character to, you know, create such a arrogant and self-centered man. And so, long story short, there is an attempted suicide by one of his patients while the patient is in the examining room with him, you know, having a counseling session, and he kind of blanks out. And so we know that something's going on with him, physiologically speaking, so that he has a difficult time now watching patients, or at least treating patients, and that's where Cheung-i's character is going to come in. But anyway, so that pretty much is the premise, and within episodes 1 and 2, I want to call them chapters. Sorry, I'm still thinking in school mode. But within these 2 episodes, certainly, we see very slowly the relationships building and solidifying. And I will warn you, for those of you, after hearing this review, decide, hey, I want to try the series out and see what it's all about. I will warn you, it's not a series that will suck you right in and create this kind of crazy fangirl or fanboy, you know, scenario for you. It's a very sweet romantic comedy, laden with some very likable characters. Cheung Jung-myung's character, not quite so likable yet, but, you know, characters that you realize over the series of the entire show you could potentially come to care a great deal about. And what I found interesting is this notion that Cheung-i and Cheung Jung-myung's characters actually may have the same underlying issues, but they just present them in different ways. And we see that idea echoed in several of the other episodes as well, in terms of how different people react to the same circumstances because of the way, you know, their coping mechanisms are set up. So anyway, I hope this review, short as it is and perhaps as convoluted as it was, you know, gives you some idea of how I'm liking the series, certainly. And if you have some time and inclination, I would heartily recommend that you check Heart to Heart out. I will try to, in the description bar below, link, if I can find it, the English subtitled versions of episodes 1 and 2 for you to watch. And if you guys are interested in what my blog looks like, I will try to have my first impressions blog post up pretty shortly as well. So thanks everyone, and Happy New Year, and thanks for going on this K-drama adventure with me. 안녕!